Well, welcome everybody. Welcome to Tea Time Tuesday. Hello, hello. How y'all doing, team? Carmela, Hope, how you doing?
Very good. Patrick, doing good.
Good. I was going to replay it. Yes. Well, welcome everybody to our Tea Time Tuesday. Of course, every fourth Tuesday we have tea time at 7 p.m. And of course, our first, second, and third Tuesdays we have it on at noon. So just grateful to have everybody on today. Let us know if you're out there, folks. Let us know how you're doing. Hashtag us, I am Renewal. Please like and please share. Please like and please share. I am Renewal. Let everybody know that you're here. Hello, Daphne. Good to have you on. Thank you so much. Monique, hello. Good evening to you. Good evening to you, Charlisa. Good evening to you. Anybody else that's out there, let us know. For those of you that are watching us on YouTube, hello. And also, please feel free to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. So I want to encourage you to share, because we're going to get into some good conversation and renewal practice this evening. So again, hello, Aretha. Good evening to you. So folks, let us know where you are. Let us know what's going on. How's your day? Hope everybody's day was going well. We're excited about you being on. Angela, thank you so much for being on. Hello, everyone. So we're going to get started. Oh, it's coming in. Renita, hey. All right, my sister, how are you? All right, we've got a lot of folks that are on this evening. Please like, please share. Please grab your tea. Please grab your journal. And please foster your mindset of resilience. All right, so good to have on. Hey, Kevin, good to have you on. How you doing? Good evening, good evening. Hey, Samaya, how you doing? All right, hello.
All right.
Hello to you as well. All right. Well, we're going to get started. Carmela, pass it on over to you.
Yes. Well, good evening, everybody. I see everyone is ready. We have our Tea Time community out there, and just so glad to see everybody. We're going to kick it off with our tea of the week, which is hibiscus tea. We're kind of recycling teas again. And so we're going to talk about hibiscus tea tonight. It's a well-known, well-loved, highly enjoyed tea. Hibiscus is also known as sorrel tea. It's an herbal tea made from dried hibiscus sabdarifa flowers. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Originating from Africa and grown in many other countries and regions around the world. And like cranberries, hibiscus has like a tart taste to it. Also, it's said to have that raspberry flavor going there, and it has a deep pink or deep red hue. Kind of looks like cranberries, actually. And so it's steeped in honey or the sweetener of your choice. It's a great choice of tea served hot or chilled. So this is the perfect weather for some chilled hibiscus tea, because it was like almost 79 degrees here today, wasn't it?
Yeah, down south.
Yes, down south. So I don't know what it's like where you guys are, but hibiscus tea will probably work for your region too, if it's hot or cold. So that's our tea of the week, hibiscus tea. And so now I hope you guys out there are enjoying your tea. So while we are getting ready to go and locate ourselves, go ahead and put your tea of choice in the chat. I see CL Archer has already put something in the chat about tea. So you guys go ahead and put your tea of choice. What are you drinking tonight? While Hope is going to take us into locating ourselves tonight.
All right. So before I go, I have my Earl Grey. And my next favorite is the hibiscus tea. That's my next favorite tea. So I'm really excited when you announced about the hibiscus tea. So again, welcome everyone to Tea Time Tuesdays. As we all know, it's a tea time community. We do where we take a moment to stop and pause and locate ourselves. If this is your first time being on Tea Time, welcome. For all those regular tea timers, this is our time to locate ourselves this evening. So we're just going to take a moment to just kind of close our eyes and just center ourselves and just begin to just, focus in so we can go ahead and move into our tea time this evening. I see that Earl Grey lavender tea. All right, so I'll go ahead and we're going to go ahead and just take a moment. If we can take a moment to close our eyes and just breathe in and out for about a minute as we locate ourselves. Just a few more seconds. All right. All right. Isn't that wonderful? Good evening, Dr. Paul. Welcome to Tea Time. Isn't that wonderful? Being able to just sit after the day and just locate ourselves and just kind of take that moment to just center ourselves. So, without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get into our tea time tonight. Hopefully, you got your journals, you have your tea, and you're ready to engage with us tonight.
Thank you so much, Hope and Mel. This is so good to start off our evening, everyone. What I love about tea time, of course, is our time to engage in practices, renewal practices that'll really help strengthen us. And so, as we're closing out February and we're going into our next season of March, I have a unique subject that I think will be helpful, hopefully, as a renewal practice, as we are really focusing on fostering resilience. So, our renewal practice this evening is about managing when unclear and uncertain. Managing when unclear and uncertain. So, before we get started, how many of you out there are dealing with any kind of uncertainty or perhaps being unclear? So share with us, audience, if you can, just kind of hashtag us or let us know, yes, that's me. Hello, I'm there. Have you been in any uncertainty or any ambiguity? It's been unclear. Let us know if that's where you are, perhaps, especially in jobs and workplace situations, because of the world that we're living in. It'd be interesting to hear from you if you've experienced any uncertainty or ambiguity or things that are unclear. So that's what we're going to focus on this evening as far as a renewal practice. So if there's anybody out there that you think need to be a part of this tea time conversation this evening, please tag them, share this on your page, share it with them, drop the link to them so that they can participate. And I also want to remind you that since this is Tea Time Tuesday, this is Giving Tuesday here at the Renewal Center. So if you have been a tea timer, or if you really want to know more about the vision of the Renewal Center and the areas of focus that we have and supporting us as a nonprofit organization, we'll talk a little bit about how you can support the Renewal Center as part of Giving Tuesday here in 2023. So let's see what the audience is saying. Anybody here? Kashmir says, yes, that's me. Anybody else? Just let us know if you're dealing with any type of ambiguity, any type of just things that are unclear. I'd like to hear from you because our conversation this evening in Renewal Practice will be based on that. All right, so let's dive right into this. So one of the things I wanted to talk about relating to this Renewal Practice of managing in when unclear and when uncertain is that the human brain itself is not wired for uncertainty. It's not wired for that. It's really wired for fight, flight, and freeze. Something comes and it's unclear. something comes and it's uncertain, many times the first thing that we potentially do, just in terms of the way that we're wired, is that we begin to either freeze. Okay, I don't want to deal with this. We fight it. I don't like this uncertainty. It's difficult. Or we just flee it. We fly it. I don't want to be a part of this. I'm going to go ahead and just leave, because that's just the nature of how things have evolved with our brain. And so it requires some specific competencies and skills. So Mel or Hope, have you perhaps any time in work that you've done, have you maybe perhaps dealt with any fight, flight, or freeze, or perhaps felt discomfort and when unclear or uncertain? How did that make you feel?
Well, absolutely. I've faced uncertainty many times in my life. And I think sometimes our default mechanism, I know for me, sometimes, like you said, is that freeze, that moment where you freeze, but then it's a flustering, you kind of flustered and like, okay, well, what do I do next? And so for me, sometimes it's like, just like, on the screen, it says managing when things are unclear. The first thing comes in is like, okay, where am I? What just happened? And so then I'm trying to just put myself in a place of, okay, let me slow down. What's next? So that I don't, jump out ahead of myself. So yeah, there's been a lot of times I've faced uncertainty and don't know what's my next. What am I going to do? But I think for me, just pulling back for a second and just stepping back and just taking my time to observe what's happening, that seems to help me get through that moment of uncertainty. And there's times when it's beyond that, it's going to take a minute to try to figure that out, to feel my way through. But nevertheless, taking the time to step back and to see it from a different view before I go into it.
Okay. Hope, how about you? How about you in this subject?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, there's been many a times that I have faced uncertainty and just being able to, after you've done, faced it, because it's not something that happens just one time. It, happens throughout life, throughout journeys, but I have learned how to navigate that's best for me to navigate through situations as such. And for me, it's just kind of like the moment that you realize, okay, like, Carmela said, like, what just happened? What's going on? And I'm not clear about it. And you mentioned something earlier, Patrick, about how our minds are wired. And so, just that initial kind of like what's going on, and then what do you need to do? So for me, it's just taking a time to just pause, taking the time to like evaluate what I'm dealing with, why I'm dealing with it, and why do I have the feeling of uncertainty, what caused it, and try to evaluate to get to the root of it.
Gotcha. And it's important for us to understand how the brain works as it relates to uncertainty, because we're used to seeing patterns, and consistency. And so when there's a disruption or something that's unclear and uncertain, then there's a way that we respond. And so that also happens not just in our personal lives, but also happens in our professional lives. So I want to offer just a few renewal practices to help all of us navigate when we are dealing with things that are unclear and when things are uncertain. So let's dive into our content for this evening. First thing I want to talk about as a practice is take pragmatic action. Take pragmatic action. So when we look at locus of control, which is really about our internal control capability, we want to focus on what we can control. Focus on what you can control. Now, how many of you walk outside, can you control the weather? No. But you can control if you put a raincoat on. You can control if you have an umbrella. You can control if you have a scarf or a hat, or if you have more clothes that's for warm weather. So, you ever met with somebody and it's like you're talking, and, oh God, it's cold. Oh God, it's hot outside. And it's like the seasons are going to be the seasons. They're going to be the seasons. Focus on what you can control. You can't control what's going to come with the winter, the summer, the fall, the spring. You can't control the weather, So why focus on what's uncertain? See, when we focus on what we can control, what we're doing is we're determining what we can influence and what we can't. So we take pragmatic action when things are uncertain. There's a disruption in your work. There's something uncertain in terms of our strategy or a plan. You want to start focusing more on what you can control. Why? Because you're really focusing on how you're governing yourself or guiding yourself when you're dealing with uncertainty. So taking pragmatic action is important, but also the importance of focusing on delivering value. I've been on projects, and maybe you've been in projects and circumstances where something comes and a situation comes up and I'm disrupted in my work. I'm disrupted. It impacts me. And sometimes we go into this automatic reaction instead of focusing on what we can control. So I want to pause here and just get the audience's input as well. And I hope, Emil, please feel free to share your thoughts on our first renewal practice is about taking pragmatic action. Any thoughts on that?
Well, for me, just being able, what you just stated as far as just the pragmatic in understanding how we can gain, some type of control. And so for me, it's just being able to focus on the things that I can control. As you mentioned, the weather, if I know that it's going to be cold, or if I feel it's going to be cold because I have access to a coat or a jacket, I just prepare myself because I can't change the weather. So I have to maybe put on a jacket or put on a hat or put on a scarf, depending on the time of the year that it is. So it's kind of like making personal adjustments when you're dealing with uncertainty, and so that was a great analogy as far as the weather, because we can't control the weather. We can't control how hot it's going to get. So it's just kind of like making sure that I can do the things I can control, which would be, getting something to wear to make myself warm. That's what I can control. Yes. So just kind of focusing on what I can do.
Yeah, and we need to do that, because when we do that, and again, this is about putting these things into practice. It is a renewal practice. If something uncertain comes, and again, this is about putting it into mind, putting it as a part of our consciousness. Monique says, process how you feel during uncertainty. Yes, absolutely. Processing what's happening, how you feel. Kashmir says, it sounds simple, but putting into action can be challenging. Yes, it is challenging. Why is it challenging? Because the human brain is wired to fight, flight, and freeze. And so, yes, any particular muscle we have is going to require a challenge. We cannot grow a muscle without tension and without resistance. And it's the same way with rewiring our brains, rewiring our minds and how we think. And so, yes, it is going to be challenging, but that's why we have tea time. That's why we have community, because we're also going to learn that we're not in this by ourselves, which is another renewal practice when we're going through uncertainty as well. Mel, you wanted to share something. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just thinking about what Kashmir said, that word challenging jumped out. And it is true. Sometimes it is challenging because you have to ask yourself, okay, what is my realm of influence here? As far as altering or changing the situation, sometimes we might not can change the situation, and we may want to insert ourselves, realistically. So then you're like, okay, do I insert myself, and to what degree do I do that? Or how do I influence change here? And so I like that there's an element of transparency here, talking about it can be challenging because sometimes we may not have. Now we're getting a renewal practice to help us with that, but we may not have that on hand to help us navigate through something that's just that's just happened, that we have to kind of step back and really look at it.
Yeah, and that's so true, because I go through the kind of work that I do is constant uncertainty. So I have to learn now through managing projects and managing a lot of hours and human resource hours and driving messages of transformation, among million-dollar companies and global companies and firms, I have to deal with the realities that sometimes I have to recognize, you know what, I can influence it, but I can't control it.
Mm-hmm.
And so once I begin to adopt that mentality, that's for us, according to our first renewal practice, is just take pragmatic action. Focus on what you can control. Focus on delivering value. What value am I bringing? Now, when we talk about taking pragmatic action, I'm going to give you a few questions we can ask ourselves during these moments. For instance, ask a question: what options are being discussed? What options are being discussed? Maybe asking that type of question. What are the options, if any? So that you can start focusing on possibility thinking, not scarcity thinking at that time. So that helps us with being able to navigate that. Let's see. Monique says that change the way you see the situation. Your perspective makes the difference. Absolutely, it does. Angela says being in the mindset of flexibility when challenges come to adjust as they come. Very important that we focus. And again, a lot of this, folks, takes intentionality. Wow. Which is why we have a dialogue now, because in community, we build resilience and we can be transparent about where we are, and we can take this first renewal practice again. And our first renewal practice for this evening is take pragmatic action. So we're going to focus on what we can control. We're going to focusing on delivering value, and then we're going to focus on service. How can I continue to serve? In other words, serving is so important because water finds the lowest level, not the highest level. So the more that I focus on the service as an ethic, the better I focus on what I can control and what I can't control. Again, so this is important that we have this first principle down pat. Let's go to the next one. Another renewal practice. Okay. Cultivate emotional steadiness. Cultivate emotional steadiness. One thing about ambiguity, and strategic ambiguity specifically, it pushes you out of your comfort zone. So because ambiguity could push us out of our comfort zone, it's difficult to stay emotionally steady. Okay? It can be all over the place because I don't like this ambiguous nature of what's happening to me, especially when you're in projects on your job and you're not clear and somebody's demanding something, or there's communication breakdowns. Those are things that bring this emotional, unsteady behavior. So I want us to emphasize there are two parts to emotional steadiness I want to talk about, but we got to cultivate this. Being concrete helps you move beyond raw emotions. Being concrete. When strategies shift, stay concrete on the facts, because that helps you move beyond raw emotions. Acknowledging the what ifs. Well, what if this happens? And what if this happens? And what if this happens? And acknowledge them. Okay, there are some what ifs that are out there. And again, what we're doing is we're acknowledging where we are. That's the step to cultivating emotional steadiness when dealing with ambiguity, is acknowledging where I am. We always say, hope you like to say this, awareness is power. So if it is, and since it is, then part of this is also being concrete, saying, okay, I know what I can control. I'm looking at what's in front of me, and I'm acknowledging the what ifs. That helps me move beyond raw emotions when I'm dealing with that. What if everything we're doing alters? What if that means there are job changes? What if this? Acknowledging the what ifs helps you move to what is in front of me and how I can influence it. So I'll pause here for a moment and hear from the audience what your thoughts are on the second renewal practice. Anything else you want to share concerning this? Thoughts? Just taking it in?
Yeah, taking it in.
Okay, all right, this is good. These are the things that I know we all deal with. And one of the key things about here at the Renewal Center is about renewing minds. And so part of this is a renewing mind, renewal practice this evening in our tea time. Because yes, you're right, Charlize, people become frantic, can become frazzled because of all this ambiguity. So we want to cultivate an emotional steadiness. And in that, we are also acknowledging the what ifs. And one of the reasons why I'd like us to focus on acknowledging the what ifs is that gives you empowerment. You can navigate when you acknowledge something because it locates where you are. That's why we always start out with locate yourself. That's a centering exercise. And in a centering exercise, I acknowledge my state of mind. I acknowledge my state of emotions. And I can be honest. If I'm irritated, I acknowledge that irritation. If I'm aggravated, I acknowledge the aggravation. If something's bothering me, I acknowledge it. And then I can collect myself. And then I can be concrete at that moment. And again, it's a renewal practice. So it's not an overnight thing, but it is an everyday thing. Something that we want to continue to try to put in place, even though it may not change overnight. I'm focusing on what ifs. The third part of this first part of emotional steadiness is play out the worst case scenario. Play out the worst case scenario. Just put it out there in your mind and then move to more likely outcomes. The what if scenario was there. I'm looking at it. I recognize it. And then I'm going to move to more likely outcomes. All right, I'll pause here. I want to hear from the audience your thoughts on this renewal practice. And Hope or Mel, anything you want to share, any feedback, anything that's perhaps stirring you to respond. You see, Michelle says, what if scenarios are necessary so that you can weigh your options? A pro and cons list is helpful. Thank you for sharing that, Michelle. Charlisa says, it's not an overnight thing, but an everyday thing. Yes, that's important. It is not overnight, but it is every day. And we practice it every day so we can develop some type of understanding of how we function. So I really want everyone to think through this particular second practice. Oh, excuse me, let me go back to this one, about being concrete. So has anyone ever acknowledged what ifs? Or have you ever played out the worst case scenario? Now, why do we play that out? We play it out so that we can empower ourselves and we can acknowledge that whatever this what if scenario is, because of how the brain is wired, it goes straight to negativity, right? Yeah. I mean, that's how it is. Things go viral most of the time because they're negative. News sells because it's what? Negative. Gossip, negative. Rumors, negative. Because that's the default part of how humanity embraces things. So it requires an intentionality that when there's ambiguity, when there's uncertainty and things are unclear, that we focus on emotional steadiness. I'm gonna sip my tea and let y'all flow. Bing bang.
This is good. This is really good. One of the things I think that is jumping out to me is that first part of the second renewal practice, and it's talking about steadiness. And, that's like kind of having a surety to keep yourself grounded, to find out the facts about what is actually happening. That kinds of help us when we do have, like with Michelle got it right there, the default mechanism kind of kicks in. It kind of keeps us grounded so that we can bounce back and be resilient from that default mechanism that tries to keep us there.
I have a few default mechanisms, I'm sure, and I've tried to become more aware of them so that I don't repeat that pattern. It's like, okay, my role as a leader, even, and those of you that manage and supervise, our role is to be calm, is to be transparent, is to be ready to focus on, hey, here's where it is, but I need to paint a picture of the vision of the future. I need to paint a vision of the future. Here's where we're going, while I'm acknowledging what I'm feeling. Does that make sense? Like, here's where we're going, while I'm acknowledging what I'm feeling, and I know why I'm feeling that way, so that I can at least put us on the right trajectory. Sometimes it's difficult. And so that's why it's important that we embrace a practice such as cultivating emotional steadiness. Just trying to be steady through it. steady through it. And that does not mean that we embrace, I just got to keep it real. I just go say what I got to say. I got to keep it all the way live. I got to keep it 100. No, you don't. No, you don't. Our responsibility is to be calm, to be steady, to pass vision. I mean, it's easy. I'm just going, I'm going to be live up in this piece. No, we cannot do that.
Right.
Because people are looking at us as leaders as well.
Yeah.
So it's important that as we're honest with where we are, we also communicate a message that is positive, that is painting the picture and a vision of the future. Yeah.
Yeah. I just wanted to add that even what you stated, that when you said the steadiness is something that you have to stay consistent in, because sometimes even though it may be steady, you might hit a little bit where kind of, maybe not steady at that time. So when you were saying that, what I got from it as well is that when I'm trying to maintain, steady, being steady, emotional wise and what's going on, I also have to, be consistent and as well show myself grace in the process of obtaining it. And it, again, it may be a challenge because sometimes our minds are wired to just kind of do or respond the way we used to respond. And then when you're moving out into a place of saying, okay, I'm going to be aware of what's going on. I'm going to be aware of how, how I feel and looking at the facts. That may take some consistency. It may take some showing yourself grace because, we're not in a place of being a perfectionist, but just, embracing that and being consistent and in determination of how we're going to move forward in a steady way.
Good.
Yeah.
Some
That's
additional
good.
things about cultivating emotional steadiness also is commit to avoid stress responses, rumors, or other non-productive behaviors. Chitter chatter. Committing to avoiding stress responses, rumors, and other. Did you hear about this? So-and-so, this is what's happening. We heard this, we heard that. And then what we end up doing, we have to learn how to avoid stress responses. Because one thing happens, next thing you know, the rumor mill, the stress mill, non-productive behaviors. We check out mentally, start checking out. And then also we stop communicating. See, during times of obscurity, during times of ambiguity, you got to keep communications more open, not less frequently, not less openly. That's not the time to be quiet when you're in ambiguity. That's the time to be open and transparent and more frequently in communication. If you're a leader, you're leading an initiative, you're leading a project, there's ambiguous news, there's lack of clarity, there's something that's a news release, there's a press release, there's information that's put out there. We first need to take a step back and say, I'm going to avoid a stress response. I'm going to avoid responding to rumor until I know the facts. And then I'm going to keep communication open. So not less frequency and less openly. We don't want to decrease our openness. We don't want to decrease our frequency. We want to increase it. And nothing feels more challenging. One of the things years ago, I did a training called The Magic of Customer Relations. And one of the things we talked about was there's a difference between magic and tragic. And magic part was that we use words that connect us. Tragic is using words that disconnect us. And so tragic words like I said. What do you mean, like I said? I mean, when you're communicating with someone, you don't have to say, well, like I said. Basically, you're telling them you didn't hear me. Or you're saying, oh, I'm just this. I'm just this. There are words that we use that are tragic words that bring division or build a wall instead of tearing walls down. So that's why it's important that we're mindful of our emotional state in the midst of ambiguity. So I just wanted to just hone in on that when you have an ambiguous situation, T-timers, it requires you to communicate more than normal. So if you're leading, you're influencing, take some time to be able to do this. All right, Renita has something here. Let's share here. I've kind of been in and out of conversation, so I hope this applies, but this came to my mind. I think that we have to recognize when there are some factors that may impact our steadiness. Lack of sleep, hunger, etc. We end up reacting on impulse. We got to make sure we're taking care of those basic needs so that we can handle the external stressors in a healthy way. You know, you should bring Renita on right now since you shared.
Yes.
Our city is late.
Yes.
Come on in and talk to us.
Yes.
Come on in here, then.
Come on, Renita.
Share that big chunk of content there.
Yes.
You're absolutely right. We do have to look at that. And again, that goes back to soul care, taking care of our internal world.
This is good. This is good.
Michelle says, I'm going to be steady in the front of the room and go cry in the car. Yeah. Nothing wrong with that. That's right. Put your game face on. So it's important. All right. I think that you know, again, these are renewal practices that help us because we do live in a world of ambiguity. We do live in a world where things are many times unclear. Now, how do we help people navigate you know, this space of emotional steadiness when there is ambiguity or there's uncertainty or unclarity? We're unclear. As a leader, and hopefully you're getting this down in your journals, share your emotions. Share your emotions. Acknowledge your team's emotions, and then discuss with your team to be emotionally steady during times of uncertainty. Again, you share your emotions, then you acknowledge your team's emotions, and then you as a leader, you discuss your commitment. I'm committed to being emotionally steady during this time of uncertainty. I acknowledge it is difficult. This is a challenging time. Let's turn to one another and say that we're going to commit to being emotionally steady during a time of being uncertain. So I think that's one, again, that's another renewal practice we want to adopt. Let's keep going. All right, number 3. Oh, and let me share this with you as well. I'll put this in here because I think it's important for us to have insight into where we are, context into the situation, and then that leads to clarity. Okay, insight to where I am, context of the situation, then that can release clarity. One more time. Insight into where I am, context of the situation, which is how it affects people, how it affects me, how it affects business, how it affects outcomes. And then we can gain clarity when we have these 3 focusing together. All right. Next renewal practice. Connect into others' expertise. Connect into others' expertise. So I want you to imagine, here's one thing that you can do when you're dealing with uncertainty and being unclear, is imagine connecting to somebody else's expertise. Who knows something that I don't know?
Yeah.
So that's some intellectual humility. It's an acknowledgement that I want to imagine, and I've done this, and I think this is helpful just as a practice. Imagine your most respected leader's approach. I've done that just in practical things in my life. I've imagined, how would my dad, what would he be thinking about this? And then I was like, what would my mom think? I would kind of just imagine that from just a parental perspective. Then I would think about what would this particular leader or mentor that I highly respect because of their character, their performance, their judgments, and their results. I now think through, I'm going to imagine that leader's approach so I can gain learning. I'm going to imitate healthy actions. So I'm not sure what to do, but let me imitate a healthy action so that I can act as my thoughts are formulating. So what you're doing is when you're imitating healthy actions, you're tapping into somebody else's strengths to inform your own strength. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts about that, Mel? I see you shaking your head.
I like that. I think that's a plus. Mm-hmm. Because we all are different in some ways, and we all can add to the piece of the pie. And so, when we're faced with uncertainty, sometimes it's like, okay, I know this person has a strength in understanding or a strength in this particular area. I wonder how would they react? And it would be, possibly good to glean from them, to be sharpened from them, and to get wise counsel or wise words, or just having seen the way that they've handled a situation. That could be a plus in your life. Not, it's called modeling.
Mm.
I think that's what I'm trying to say. It's the modeling part of it that you can take and use, not imitating, but per se, but modeling, and using that as to your advantage, because you want to be positive. You want it to be positive outcome, and you want to be able to glean and learn and grow at the same time. And that's how I'm seeing this part of the renewal practice.
Yeah. Yeah. So you connect to others' expertise. Also, involving other leaders.
Yeah.
Going to a person and saying, I don't have to be strong to be solid in leadership. So I'm going to start out a conversation like this. And here's how you get, I would say, feedback or input is I could really use another point of view. Just say that. I could really use another point of view. And just say that out loud, and say it when you're talking to that trusted leader. And most of the time you'll find people will give you another point of view because you're asking and you're pulling on their best. Hope, have you been in any situations like that where you've had to pull and draw?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, being faced with uncertainties and things, and as well as leading. And that's why, community and connections are important as a people, because then, I can always go to trusted leader, my mentor, or whoever, and just say, hey, can I have your perspective on this? And just be open to hear and receive the perspective that will be able to help out. It's also acknowledging, not being afraid to acknowledge, because, sometimes there can be a place where I don't want, people to know I'm feeling uncomfortable. But there's also a place of acknowledging that the individual that you're going to, another leader, they may have more expertise in a particular area of how to navigate through different situations. And so that's why it's important to have that connection with different people. So I've had to navigate through that myself by reaching out to different leaders, by reaching out to people I may know have more wisdom or insight in a situation that can actually give me a fresh perspective. And then what happens is that fresh perspective that they give me, it allows my mindset to shift. It allows my thoughts to be cultivated and to new, to kind of be, renewed in how I'm looking at the situation that I'm facing, the times of uncertainty. And just to add, even while you were talking, I just want to add to our Tea Time audience that, we just faced as a nation or around everywhere where there was a time of uncertainty. And that just shows us how important community is, and it shows us how important connecting and having a connection with people, how important it is that can help us to navigate through times of uncertainty. And so we have to know that even maybe yesterday was an uncertain time for me, but we have to understand that even in times to come, we will be facing those uncertain times. It's just how we go about dealing with them, how we're going to navigate. And believe me, it is a challenge sometimes because we're human, we get frustrated, we just like, oh, forget it. But then it's like being aware of how I'm feeling in that particular time, and being aware that I need to reach out to a trusted leader or someone who can help me to navigate through situations.
That's good.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry about that. See, uncertainty with the wireless. See,
stable connection. Right?
There you go. See,
I
uncertainty right there. Like, oh God, there you go. Prime example. I tell you. So yes, we are dealing with all kinds of things, and it's important that I will also just encourage us to connect with other expertise, involving other people, and use this line. I could really use another point of view. So Hope, thank you for sharing those approaches. I'd like to hear from the audience, any thoughts that you may have on what we're sharing on our tea time this evening in our renewal practices on managing unclear, and when uncertain. Monique says cross-functional teams can work together to accomplish difficult tasks. We all draw from each other's strengths and help balance the load in my workplace. That's good. That's good. We cross-functional, knowing each other's functions and growing and learning from each other. Our last renewal practice for this subject is embrace the discomfort of not knowing. Embrace the discomfort of not knowing. So, in other words, it's okay to not know. It's okay to not know, and really embrace, that whole discomfort, because you're going to experience that. All right, you can embrace it. It's expected. It's going to be there. So I wanted to just add 2 questions I think are important when you're dealing with discomfort or you're not knowing. Ask yourself what options are being discussed. What can you do today to prepare yourself, your team, or even potentially clients for change? So think about that as it relates to embracing. But I want to leave us with one just thought, is shift from a know-it-all to a learn-it-all mindset.
Yes.
Shift from know-it-all to learn-it-all mindset. It's okay to say, I don't know. And I am learning. Or I don't know, I'm unlearning. Or I don't know, I'm relearning. Or I don't know, can you show me? I don't know, can you teach me? I don't know, I'm willing to absorb. I don't know, I want to be sharpened. I want to expand, right? To live is to grow, and to grow is to change. It's important that we're able to acknowledge it's okay to be able to embrace, when we need to, the discomfort of not knowing. And I think the shift of a know-it-all to a learn-it-all mindset, that shift can help us ease the discomfort, and it takes the pressure off of everybody that needs to have all the answers.
I like that.
Okay. I know some of us, we want to know all the answers. We want to look smart. I don't know. I'm quiet.
Yep.
Patrick, what do you think? I don't have an opinion on that, because I don't have to have an opinion on everything anyway. So that's okay. I don't have to always be the loudest one in the room. Just, I don't know. I'm good. I'm listening. I'm observing. I'm absorbing. I'm growing. I'm expanding. Then I'm going to ask some questions so that I can learn even more. So I think that this is an important shift, because it takes the pressure off of us to have all the answers. And it takes the pressure off of us to be perfection. Ooh, we need to sit on that one as we close out our tea time tonight. So one last word from both of you on this last renewal practice. Embrace the discomfort of not knowing. I'd like to hear your thoughts on that. And then the audience, please chime in on how perhaps this tea time renewal practice this evening has impacted you as well. So I hope I'll start off with you, and then Mel, you can give your thoughts as well. Go right ahead.
Okay, well, I love that the last statement of just that is powerful and liberating as well. And just even this comment that says remain teachable. This is really good, shift from I know it all to learn it all, and so I just want to say that is, for me, that's very key. It's okay to say we don't know it all. And sometimes we live in a society where it's like, if you just, it's so much pressure. And as you said, something that's very keen to me as being in leadership capacity is that it takes the pressure off of, the leader. You don't know it all. And being, even when we're in leadership, I just want to leave this point. It's okay to learn from our team. It's okay to learn from the people that are, that's around us, and be open to continue to learn. And I have learned this too. If I don't know, I don't know. I'll just say I don't know. I don't have an answer. I don't have feedback, and it's okay. It's okay to not give an answer. It's okay not to chime in to every single conversation, every single situation. It's okay not to chime in. And I just want to leave with that. This has been a phenomenal tea time this evening, and it definitely helped me, and helps to realign us And as we know, our tea time is a time of pausing, reset, and building resilience. And this is definitely building resilience for all of us who operate in leadership capacities, whether we have or have not, or we've all operated in it. And I think that was a really, really good point. I don't know, and it's okay. And you know what? When I don't know, be willing to learn from those around you who may know. It gives an opportunity for everybody to engage and everybody to be a part of, maybe what's going on at the particular time to gain better insight. So I'm
Thank
just
you so much.
the tea time.
That's good, Hope. Thank you.
Mhm.
Mel, any thoughts, please?
Yes, I did too. The last renewal practice, shifting from the know-it-all mentality to the learn-it-all, because it just makes me feel as if, like I feel within myself, not I don't have to do all the heavy lifting.
Mm-hmm.
It relieves you from having to do the heavy lifting when you involve others that are more well versed in something else. And then I've come to find through self discovery, I didn't know that. Oh my gosh, I did
Mm.
not know that. And had I just, step back and listen, and, I would have lost out if I didn't listen or, glean from somebody else. So it's like, whew, that takes the relief. I mean, you're
Mhm.
relieved to know that I didn't have to do all the heavy lifting. I actually involved other people in the whole process of it, so I can learn something new, and then I learned something new about myself. So
Mm.
I like that. I'm going to really incorporate that. Learn it all mentality versus just knowing it all.
Yeah.
There's a big difference.
Yes, it is. And we have to stay pliable,
Hmm.
moldable, shapeable, so that it can be powerful,
Yeah.
and we can continue to be productive in what it is that we want to be able to do and being able to engage when there's uncertainty. So I'd love to hear from everyone, all of our tea timers. Let us know what your takeaways are. So let's just locate yourself before we head out. Take a moment and pause. What have you learned? What have you unlearned? Maybe what you've relearned. How have you sharpened your saw today in our tea time? As you're thinking that, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to break back up the renewal practices one more time. Charlisa says it allows us to give ourselves permission to expose some level of vulnerability to learn, grow, and go. Thank you so much. Absolutely.
That's good.
What are your takeaways? What have you learned, unlearned, or relearned as it relates to the renewal practices this evening? I'm going to bring them back up. Again, we're discussing managing when unclear and uncertain, taking pragmatic action, cultivate emotional steadiness, acknowledge your what ifs, playing out the worst case scenarios, and stepping back and moving into more likely outcomes. As we're cultivating emotional steadiness, committing to avoid stress responses or rumors, or keeping communication lines open, not less frequently and less openly. Have insight into where I am, the context of the situation, so that we can have clarity. Number 3, connect into others' expertise. Am I imagining my most respected leaders' approaches and imitating, as Mel would say, modeling healthy actions, involving other leaders? And then lastly, embrace the discomfort of not knowing. So what are your takeaways as it relates to our renewal practices this evening? We'd love to hear from you, everyone, and get your thoughts as we begin to just really relocate ourselves as it relates to navigating uncertainty, navigating when things are unclear. So I want to thank everyone for connecting. I'd like to hear your comments because I want to bring those up on the screen. I just want to share with everyone again that we are in Giving Tuesday here at the Renewal Center. Please stop by and see us here at the Renewal Center here in Concord, North Carolina, the historic district. We're at 159 Church Street here in Concord, North Carolina. And so I want to encourage you. We are a nonprofit organization. We want to give you an opportunity to donate to our organization. Here we have a location. Here is on site. We have a thought room. I'm actually here in our media production space this evening. We have a thought and an action room, a voice room. We also have a space where you can, in a thought room, where you can come in and just read and go on our porch. This is a wonderful time to visit, a wonderful time to just connect in wellness and well-being and reflection. We also have a cafe that's here as well. So this is an opportunity for you to give and support and donate to our nonprofit organization. So again, there's our ways to give. You can go to our website at therenewalcenter.com/give. We have CashApp, Cash Renewal Center, PayPal, the Renewal Center 2020 at gmail.com. You can text Renewal Center to 888-364-4483. We also have Zelle and we have Venmo, or you can actually mail to us as well, our P.O. Box. So I just want to give you an opportunity to support our nonprofit organization. We're looking to grow. We're looking to expand and improve our operations here at the Renewal Center. And we'd love to partner with you. If any of our content that we're providing to you on Tea Time Tuesday and any of our other platforms and our programs that we've established here at the Renewal Center, we'd like your support. We'd like you to consider being a partner, just donating to our cause, to our vision and our mission. More information, download the mobile app. Go ahead now. If you don't have the mobile app, go right now. Download that app so you can read our blog, you can read our content, our audio content, video content as well, and the other programming that we are providing for you. So I just wanted to just share that with everyone as we honor, Giving Tuesday, each Tuesday. Please, you can scan the QR code as well, or of course you can go to our digital giving, and these are our ways. So we ask that you support us and be a part of what we're doing. All right. So before I go, let's leave some of the comments to see what's coming in. All right. Melissa says, as a professor, I thought I needed to have all the answers. This was a frightening thought until I realized I could say I don't know, but let me research and find the answers. So liberating to understand. I don't know it all, but open to learn more. Thank you for sharing. Michelle says, one of the ways I deal with uncertainty or things being unclear so that I don't become anxious is to say to myself, peace, be still. Thank you for sharing that. All right, Angela says, my takeaway is learning to embrace the not knowing, which causes the stress to come in. Keeping emotional steadiness. Thank you for sharing that. Monique shares, I don't have to have all the answers as a leader. I can learn from others. Thank you for sharing that as well. Renita says, I agree that it's okay to not know. Admitting that can be freeing in a way and allows opportunity to take initiatives to grow. Thank you for sharing that as well. Anybody else that's out there, any tea timers, any takeaways? Again, part of building resilience is learning from each other. So that's why we want you to dive in and connect, because there are things in all these comments that I want to absorb. We want to absorb that nugget. Charlisa says, it's okay to be in a position of not knowing at all, but courageous enough to learn and continue to grow. Thank you for sharing. Anybody else you're out there, please share with us. We'd love to hear from you. I'm going to give you an opportunity again to connect with the Renewal Center. We do have some announcements that we're going to provide for you at the end of our tea time this evening. I want to invite you to save the date. We have an upcoming 4th Carolina prophetic gathering, April 27th through the 29th, 2023. We are focused on being in sync with Christ from Galatians 5:25. And so we want to encourage you. Here are our speakers. Registration is open. If you go to carolinapropheticgathering.eventbrite.com, registration is open. And it is 3 power-packed days of dialogue and discourse, development, discussion, teaching, impartation. That's going to be incredible for you. And this is our 4th installment. It is a decade of this prophetic work that we're doing here at the Renewal Center. And so we are the Center for Prophetic Thought, Voice, Art, and Action. We'd like you to be a part of that. So I want to encourage you to join us April 27th and 29th. Registration is open. We'll be popping the link in the chat again. Follow us on all of our social media pages as well. And we want to invite you back to Tea Time again next week here at 12 p.m. All right. Every first, second, and third Tuesdays at 12. And again, this is a time to pause, reset, and build resilience. So, team, any last thoughts that you have before we close out for this evening?
Well, thank you so much to all of our tea timers who came in tonight. I mean, we just really gleaned from one another. Thank you, Patrick, for sharing these renewal practices tonight. This has been really good. I've been really enjoying these practices tonight.
Thank you so much. This has been good. Healthy experience this evening. Hope any last things we need to announce? Any last words?
No, I just want to say just thank you for this time and thank you to the Tea Time community and all the comments and the engaging that everyone chimed in. This has been a phenomenal tea time and a great way to end the month and begin to enter into the next month. So this has been phenomenal tonight. Thank you all.
Yes.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Tea Time. And as we say here, I am Renewal.
Renewal.
Tuesday. All righty.
All right.